Hello and welcome back. We are going to today go over a couple different text editors. A lot of times when you're in the terminal, you'll need to be able to modify a file without having to go to like a GUI, modify it, copy it up to the server and whatnot. You might just want to modify it really quickly. And there are two really popular programs that have been used for ages. I mean, back in the Unix terminal shell. That you can use that doesn't require a GUI editor, and it therefore has terminal capabilities. So here I am at the terminal, and let's say I want to create a new file, something called like test.txt. So the first program we're going to talk about is called VI. And so VI, you just type VI. I don't really know what it's called or stands for, but so you'd say VI, and then the file you want to edit, test.txt, for example. We open it up and we get a blank file. You can see it has these kind of tildes down here. That means that they're not really lines because they're trying to show you that your line ends right there. At the very bottom, you have kind of the file you're editing, what type of line endings it has, kind of the date it was last modified, which is a new file, so therefore it doesn't have a date, and stuff like that. So the first thing that you need to know about VI is that it has two modes of operation. You can either be in edit mode or cursor mode, where you can actually just kind of drive around your cursor and move it. Because back when VI was kind of first invented, keyboards didn't really have arrows to navigate around like you have with your arrow pad. They just had your regular QWERTY keyboard with your numbers and letters and maybe some modifiers like control or escape, but they didn't have arrow functions. And so they created a way to navigate around using just your standard keys. And so you could enter in and out of this mode, the control mode, and go into what is called insert mode. And in insert mode, then your keyboard kind of acts as it would standard would on if you're in any kind of text editor. So the first thing you should know is there's a couple different ways to get into insert mode. The first one that I typically do is the I key. So and then you see down here we're in insert mode, and now I can start typing whatever I want to type. And then you hit enter. You can kind of go like this. Standard VI these days now does kind of take into account your arrow keys, and so you can actually go up or down and kind of left and right. But it used to not be that way, obviously, since they didn't have arrow keys. So if you want to leave insert mode, which is what you typically need to do if you're going to save the file or exit or do a search or whatever you want to do, you have to hit the escape key. So once we hit escape, you can see the insert at the bottom goes away, and now we're into kind of navigating around. And just to kind of give you an idea of all the different kind of commands you want, let me pull up this kind of cheat sheet here. So kind of we have the VI cheat sheet, and you see I pressed lowercase I, so there is a difference between capital and lowercase. So that would start inserting before the cursor was at. If I hit A, that would append after, so you can kind of put where you want to start modifying it. I also know that if you hit like capital A, if you hold down shift and hit capital A, that will append at the end of the line, so it jumps you kind of all the way to the end of the line. Other quick things you can do kind of like replace or change a word. So if you hit C and then W, would change a word, and then you start typing and then you hit escape. It actually replaces the word that was underneath your cursor with the word that you're going to do. So let's try that. If I wanted to change this word to whatever, to CW, and say typing this thing, and then you hit escape, and there it kind of replaced it and pulled it out. So you can see that actually is pretty fast. Instead of deleting it or backspacing over it, it's a quick way. And I've seen people that are actually learn all these different keyboard shortcuts and get actually extremely fast with writing even code. I've seen people write code in VI and do that. Other things you can do, you can hit X to kind of delete one character, or DD, like you hit D twice and it deletes the entire line out. So you do that. The other thing you can do is you can type in a number before you type the command and it repeats it a whole bunch of times. So if I want to delete, say I know there's 3 lines right here, I hit 3, then DD, and it just deletes all 3 of those lines in there. So again, a lot of keyboard shortcuts, a lot of things you can do, but a lot of people get really frustrated by it because they might try to start just typing and it doesn't type. It's, I'm hitting keyboards. You got to hit the right key to insert, and then you can type. You have to remember to hit escape to get out of that insert mode. If you're going to save a file, say we wanted to write this thing out to disk, you have to hit shift colon or the semicolon, which shift gives you an actual colon, and then you follow it by, again, more kind of cryptic commands like W for write it out to disk, and then Q, I want to quit my editor. So write it out and quit. And I do that, and now if I cat that file, test.txt, there it is, it's right there. Again, I can go back into that file, do Shift A to append to the end of it, and append at the end. Again, I can do the escape, Shift colon and W and just write it, but not actually save or quit. And if I want to quit, I do Q. Let me show you one more thing that I find myself doing quite a bit. Let's say you go to edit a file and you mess it all up and you don't want to save that to quit without saving. If you do the Shift Q to quit, it's going to say, hey, no write since your last change. Make sure to add a bang or an exclamation point at the end of it, to yes, I do want to quit. So you do Q, exclamation, and you quit out without making those changes. All right, so the next editor I want to show is called Nano. So if I type Nano, and if I do test2.txt, I jump into kind of an editor. It has a little bit more as far as kind of a UI, even though it's terminal. It's kind of got some help commands down here at the bottom. It says I'm making a new file, so that's kind of nice. But you just begin typing like you would normally. So begin typing like you would normally. You can hit enter a couple times and say hello world. You can use the arrow keys, go up and down. You can hit delete to delete there. You can hit backspace to go the other way. So it's very common to, GUI type editors, and so Nano is kind of a preferred choice for a lot of people. It's really easy. So, but you do have to kind of learn a little bit of modifier keyboard strokes, and so let's take a look at these. So the first thing to notice is that we have some kind of carets with letters next to them, even, and they're capital. However, it's not a capital K that you'd have to type if you wanted to cut text or paste text. It's just a regular, you don't have to hold down shift. Now there's also this M that's there, and M stands for meta. So it's usually the Alt key on a keyboard. On a Mac, who knows, probably Option or something like that. So you got the caret B, so let's try that. So if I do caret B, that just moves me kind of one character back. Same thing as if I had a keyboard hitting back. If I do caret F, that goes one character forward. If I do kind of carets, and I guess this is probably left arrow, so let's try that. Yep, it jumps you to kind of right and left by words. And then caret A home. The big one that you'll probably be doing a lot is where is, which is the find that you normally have. So if I jump back here and I do a Control W, I can now search. So if I search for hello, hit enter, it jumps my cursor right to there. Let's say I had hello a couple times in here and I go up here, search for hello. If I actually just hit enter again, it remembers what I was doing before. And you don't actually do Control W again because that'll pop up your search, and obviously you could do that. But if you want to go to the next one, it is, where is it? Next. meta. So we're actually going to use that Alt Meta W. Now watch what happens here when I press Alt on my keyboard. So uh, in well, that just jumps up down quite a bit. But in Hyper, which is what I'm using, the Alt is going to pop up this little menu right there. So that's kind of annoying. If I do Alt W real quick and press Alt again and hold it down, it doesn't pop up. So it's a little bit of an annoying thing that you might come across, but I can just keep on holding down Alt and hitting W to be able to jump through those different types of things. And then there's a search backward, so the previous would be a meta Q and stuff. One thing you can do is you can hit the Control G down here for get help. So let's try that. And there we go. We've got kind of an editor with help that kind of explains. You can use the keyboard up and down to kind of go through the help of it. And then finally, you can do Control X to close that. Now let's say I want to write this file out. I'm happy with it. I do Control X to exit. And then it asks me, do I want to save my modified buffer? So I'm going to hit Y for yes. And then it asks me again, what file do I want to write this out to? So you could actually change which file it's going to right here. So I'm just going to hit enter. It writes it out. If I cat that file to the terminal, there it is, and we have it. And again, I can go back in and view the file, modify it, exit, save, write it to disk, look at it, and like so. The only other thing I wanted to mention real quick is that there is another program called Vim, which is a kind of modified, kind of newer, updated VI. And a lot of times, let's see, if I type which Vim, it is going to go to Vim. If I go to VI, a lot of times the VI will actually be symbolically linked to Vim on a number of different distributions because they know Vim is better and it has more features and stuff. So if I type Vim test2, let the text, it looks like in this Git Bash that I'm using here for Windows, it's kind of the same editor. On some other ones, you might get more features, like you might get color coding on your code that you're looking at. So it might do syntax highlighting and do some other fun little features like that. So that is the end, and I encourage you to play around with these things and see what you like, whether you like VI or Vim, or whether you like Nano. So see you on the other side.